Let's talk Ohio State recruiting. We got big visit news. We got potential flips. We got a big reclassification in the works that could impact Ohio State. Also got some visit news. All right, we got Buckeye recruiting insider Matt Parker on this video. We're going to break it all down. But first, Ohio State fans, do me a favor. Hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel because we're talking Ohio State recruiting all season long. You're not going to want to miss it. So jump on board, hit subscribe for me, please. All right, let's bring in Matt Parker from Letterman Row. And we're going to get to Steve Wiltfong just dropped some big news on your website. We're going to get to that in a minute. I want to talk Naim Offord. There's a lot of buzz around him and Auburn. There's some around LSU, Oregon as well. What are you hearing, though, in terms of Naim Offord from the Ohio State side of things?
Yeah, I definitely think the Ohio State stance has shifted enough to where Ohio State for the last couple of months had been, you know what, like he's committed, like we feel good. It's nothing to worry about. And now that pulse has started to change just a little bit here. Ohio State is now kind of acknowledging, or at least feeling, I guess, a little bit of the heat of Naim Offord, the 5-star plus cornerback, potentially leaving the class. Ohio State is has contingency plans ready to go if and when something does happen. Coaches were out on the road last week. Looking at some guys, those names are pretty lock and key right now for the Buckeyes. But, for as much as we talk about Naim Offord, continuing to visit Auburn, I know he's going to Oregon for the Oregon-Ohio State game, which is kind of a nice advantage for Ohio State if you really think about it. An opportunity to see both teams that he's interested in, one of which he's committed to. He's slated to be at the Ohio State-Iowa game on October 5th, pending the kickoff time. That's still to be determined, the kickoff time for that game. We're all kind of expecting a night game in Columbus, which would likely put Offord on campus for that. But the heat's a little real up here in Columbus as far as Naim Offord goes. But for now, the main thing is that he is committed to Ohio State. He maintains a very, very good relationship with cornerback coach Tim Walton. His parents really, really like Tim Walton. That's a guy that, they feel really comfortable sending their son to Columbus to play for Tim Walton. But it's really, Josh, until December, it's going to be a battle.
Yeah, they really need to get him on campus for that October visit, just kind of stem the tide of what's been building in the state of Alabama with the in-state team Auburn Tigers. All right, Steve Wiltfong, big news on a premier offensive tackle. He just dropped this on Letterman Row. Deola Ahun, he's an on 300 offensive tackle, committed to Georgia Tech. His recruitment is blowing up. I know the Georgia Bulldogs are interested here, but today the big news is Ohio State. What are you hearing on Deola Ahun and the Buckeyes?
Yeah, this was a name that Ohio State offered him at the tail end of last week. And he's got the tackle size that Ohio State is looking for, about 6'5", north of 300 pounds. Watching the tape, he's athletic enough to play in this Chip Kelly offense that Ohio State certainly moves the guys around. The biggest thing here, Josh, is that Ohio State offered him the tail end of last week, and they're already working on visit plans to get him and his family up here for either likely, again, the Iowa game or the Nebraska game. It really just depends on the kickoff time and who's carrying the game and stuff like that. But we won't know those things for another couple of weeks, unfortunately. So this is a situation very much in flux. But if Ohio State can get into this recruitment, I'm not going to discount Ohio State from the standpoint of just the fact that offensive tackle is such a position of need for Ohio State. The Buckeyes are very likely to have both of their starting offensive tackles on its current offensive line head to the NFL at the end of this season, and so there's a really good opportunity for early playing time here. And again, you can't discount Ohio State for what it can do on and off the field as far as development and NIL opportunities and stuff like that. So once again, that Iowa game we have circled as a potential visit, and this would be an official visit is my understanding. So we have that Iowa game to look at, the Nebraska game to look at. October is going to be a very busy month for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, you wondered which direction Ohio State was going to go after they missed on David Sanders. They kind of took a minute to kind of regroup, but now you can kind of see they're rolling out a plan to fill that need at offensive tackle. This weekend, you mentioned how the game times need to be later to get recruits on campus. This weekend, early game, it's always hard for recruits to make that turnaround from Friday night to get onto campus early, but there's one important visitor, Jarquez Carter. He's coming to Columbus this weekend. That's important because Jarquez Carter, he's from the state of Florida, committed to Ohio State, but he's continually showed up in Gainesville this year to watch the Gators. What are you hearing on Jarquez Carter?
Yeah, Josh, I'd actually just spoken to him before you and I have started speaking here. And that was one of the things that I had asked him was just, hey, you're committed to Ohio State. What's the big pull checking out Florida all the time and, maybe some other schools. And he put it pretty simply. He said, I'm 100% committed to Ohio State. That's where I'm going to go to. I committed to Larry Johnson. That's, who I'm going to play for. I just want to have fun and be a kid. I think so often we think about how and they are kids, but they have to make adult decisions. And this is a kid who's 17 years old, 18 years old, and quite honestly, he just wants to go watch college football. Florida was the team that he grew up rooting for. University of Florida's campus is like 30 minutes away from where he is at in Newberry, Florida right now. And I can't fault the guy for, he gets tickets to go to a game. He's going to go watch the game. So I think two things that are also important in our conversation that we had was he said that he hasn't missed an Ohio State game on television. He actually goes back and rewatches them sometimes to just kind of see what Ohio State's defensive line is doing. I think also I had asked him the question of, when you're watching, why take these other visits? He goes, sometimes it just reminds you that you made the right decision and, why you committed to where you committed. So I think with Florida having the season that it is having and Ohio State going on the trajectory that it's going,
right.
I think these visits are doing more to help Ohio State than a lot of people think.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to be a part of the number one class in America? Ohio State fans, there's a couple spots left open. Who do you want to finish this class out? Let us know. Comment section below. Who's your top target on the recruiting board?